Well, Netflix is betting there's another way to get even more viewers to use its platform by getting them to tune in for live shows. It has landed its first long-term deal that aims to tap into the loyalty of WWE viewers. Netflix has acquired the exclusive rights to World Wrestling Entertainment, including its flagship Raw show. Financial terms of the deal weren't disclosed, but there are multiple reports that it is valued at about $5 billion U.S. over 10 years. Raw will air on Netflix in Canada, the U.S., and other markets starting in January of next year. WWE's president says the deal is a good bet on both sides.
For us with Raw, it was yet another test of someone new in the space, obviously an established streaming entity, the streaming entity, if you will. It was a good bet by us, and we think a good bet by them.
Well, let's see what this deal means for the live sports streaming ecosystem with Adam Seaborn. He is a sports media analyst and head of partnerships for North America at Playmaker Capital. Adam, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, good to be with you.
So how significant is this deal, looking past the dollar figure, if it really is $5 billion, but just the fact that Netflix has landed this live component and it's looking at it over a long-term period?
Yeah, I think this is a landmark deal for Netflix. I mean, we've heard a lot about Netflix wanting to get into the live event and entertainment business. Obviously, they've dominated the streaming landscape when it comes to scripted programming. In the last few years, they have toyed around with live events. They've done some live comedy specials. Most recently, they did kind of an exhibition golf match between the PGA Tour professionals and some F1 stars from the Drive to Survive show. What we haven't seen from Netflix is them actually get into the sports rights deals until today. This is a 52-week deal. There's going to be live sports on Netflix starting in January 2025. That's a really big deal for their business.
What do you think about what Netflix could do in terms of strategy to keep people who are interested in sports on Netflix? Because, there is churn, right? You could just sign up and watch what you wanted to watch. Let's say if there was a particular event happening, and then unsubscribe. Is there something that Netflix will need to do to make sure that those subscribers who come for sports or, in this case for the wrestling actually stick?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about this deal is obviously for TKO Holdings, for WWE, they get the reach of Netflix. They also get to double their media rights value. So huge opportunity for them moving from NBC Universal, Peacock in the US, and here in Canada, Sportsnet. But for Netflix, what they get is 52 weeks of live event programming. It serves two purposes. One, as you mentioned, when Netflix came out, the ability to binge television was a novelty. Imagine you can watch an entire season of a show in a weekend or in a week. The problem with that is it made it very easy for users to churn out. You subscribe, you want to watch Stranger Things, you watch the whole season, well, you unsubscribe and I'll subscribe next year when the new season comes out. 52 weeks of sports programming keeps you tied into their programming all year round. So It's going to really reduce churn for those users. Now, the other thing is their AVOD business. What hasn't been talked about enough is that the reason that you need to have sports programming is to bolster that advertising ecosystem. Sports are built around ad breaks and around ad ecosystem. We know that Netflix has a lower price tier now for advertising, and they've had some success building out the ad tier, but they need ad inventory. And by having ad inventory and live events, you all of a sudden become a major player when it comes to sports advertising.
You posted on X earlier today that this deal creates a hole for Sportsnet's schedule because WWE programming in Canada was previously on Sportsnet. So how big of an impact do you think that will have?
Yeah, it'll have so about 7 hours a week. We're live on the linear Sportsnet channels, which is significant. It's not a huge amount. It's not as big as the Blue Jays or hockey or anything like that, but it's still a significant amount of programming. But I think what's more interesting is that, one, despite what people might think, wrestling is as popular as it's ever been. It was driving significant eyeballs against that young male demo, which every advertiser's after. So they were going to lose some ad revenue against that. That's going to be hard to replace. And they were also putting a lot of this wrestling content on their Sportsnet Plus product as well as Sportsnet 360. These are not just the kind of core ad tier or cable bundle. This is that next level up where they're really extracting a lot of subscriber value. Subscribers of Sportsnet Plus or 360 are going to ask, is it worth it for me to have this cable package anymore when a main thing I have is on Netflix?
Adam, what do you think Netflix could do in sports beyond WWE? Could there be a hockey night on Netflix instead of a hockey night in Canada? What do you think?
Absolutely, there could be. And I think that the next rights deal to keep your eye on is the NBA. The NBA built an in-season tournament this year. A lot of people think they built that in-season tournament to attract a streaming partner who can essentially say, hey, I'll buy the in-season tournament rights from you. Netflix is definitely in the conversation for that in the US. In terms of Canada, hockey rights, which everyone talks a lot about here, because obviously it's the number one sport, they come up in 2 years. Sportsnet is the exclusive national provider, and then there's a regional deal with TSN. That deal will certainly not go back to Sportsnet in its entirety. They are negotiating. I would be absolutely shocked if the whole deal goes back to Sportsnet. Someone like Netflix, someone like Amazon, someone like Apple, Roku, even players we haven't thought of yet are going to be in the mix for those rights.